Great. I will officially welcome everybody. My name is Gerald Tang. I'm one of the Associate Director here at the STAR Career Development Center. So welcome to the one of the four-part series. Today's session is about networking. And we will talk a little bit about the networking process and ways you can really kind of get started in this time, and also things that you can take advantage of. And we'll cover a few topics here, so bear with us. As you have questions, like I said earlier, feel free to submit that in the chat box below, and we can certainly talk about that more. Without further ado, let's go ahead and start. So today's topic, we were covering what is networking, why is it effective. We'll mention about what is information interview, which is a highly encouraged and very practical way for all of the job seeker to really manage the networking process. And we will talk about some of the common challenges some students, whether or not it's international students or domestic students, might experience when you're going through a networking process. And we mentioned about ways that you can also reach out to your network in social media, and how you can go about tapping into the Baruch network as well. So let's start with understanding what is networking. Networking is a process for you to cultivate connection, whether or not it's for professional or personal, and in a networking sense from a job search process, it's a way for you to find employment and learn more about insider info. So I always say to students, oftentimes networking organically happens from all of us. We tend to, in classes, being asked to introduce ourselves. We tend to make connections with friends and others in any settings, right? Whether or not it's in school or outside of it. So networking organically is happening. And why is it feeling pressure now? Networking the job search process is that when you're searching for a job, an opportunity, there is a hidden agenda. In other words, you're looking for an opportunity, you're looking to make connection, you're hoping the other persons are doing you a favor in that sense. So networking in a job search process feel a little bit more pressure because you are expecting something out of the other persons, versus a networking in a general sense. You just want to meet the other person. You may want to make connections. You see whether or not there is a way you can kind of form friendship or any other setting. So networking in that essence may feel less intimidating and pressure because there isn't a very clear agenda that you may have in mind. So with that said, networking is an important step of any of the job search process, especially in the US. It helps you to develop really, opportunity to make connection in the professional world, right? So developing relationship and gaining advice from the insider information. Networking is important because it gives you an opportunity to hear from the insider, people who may be in the industry you want to work for, or the job that they are currently holding that you would like to be in at some point in your future, to really pick their brain, to really asking them insight and really making connections with people and understanding whether or not that industry and profession might be something that could be a good fit for you. It's a way for you to build professional connections. I always say your network is most important value and asset than necessarily your current job, because your network can carry you to different kinds of careers in the future. When your job, especially now, a lot of people, unfortunately, during this current climate, that they may be losing their job and opportunity. If you have a strong supported network, that can carry you very far as looking for other opportunity in between your transitions or for your next opportunity. It also is a great way for you to discover hidden job markets. Oftentimes you may hear hiring an opportunity a lot more earlier than necessarily, waiting until a job posting comes out. So oftentimes you want to think about the mindset of, how can I really hear these connections so that I can get myself ready and be more competitive before any other job ad comes out. So you are really starting to make yourself stand out before other candidates might be being considered. Networking from an especially undergraduate student point of view, it's a great way for you to explore career options. You may not know whether or not that's a great place for you. You may not know whether or not this is a great job for you, right position for you, right company for you. networking can help you explore these options and really kind of hearing from the insider information and gaining insight. And that may be a great way for you to assess whether or not this is a right place for you, whether or not this is a right opportunity for you or right culture for you, based on the insight that you gather from your connections. And why is it effective? Almost 80%, I would say this ratio is even higher now, almost 80% of the job that you may have found through networking. So kind of asking yourself the question, looking back from some of your experiences that you may have, ask yourself that question. How many of those opportunities you actually gather from people that you know? Or because people you know, that's why you land that opportunity? Right, so oftentimes you may want to think about in that mindset of how do you make referrals so that you are gathering valuable information, and be able to support you through your search process. It can also find you the next job, like I said, through networking, and it's also a skill for you to continue on. Networking is not just about jobs, right? Networking can also be a good skills for you to carry on in your business world. Maybe is to make connections with business connections or finding partnerships, maybe looking at deals in the future through your networking that can help you get to where you want to be in or beneficial for the company that you represent. So oftentimes networking in the setting is not just about building for your job search process, it's also making your professional reputation and connection. So start to think about how can I build this network so that they understand who you are and your skill set, not just for your immediate job, maybe for your long-term process. So fears, this is a common things we always hear from students. Networking can be scary and we understand that. Oftentimes these are comments people always make, I don't want to impose, why would people want to hear from me, especially I'm an undergraduate student, I don't know a whole lot, I wanted to get a job on my own. I will look, foolish or unprofessional if I'm not sure what I want to do or what should I say. I don't have any connection. That's a very common thing, especially from an international student point of view. The cultural difference between myself and people need to talk to are intimidating. These are common things, whether or not it's both domestic or international students. So first thing I want to demystify, international students have connection, looking back from yourself, right? People that you have connections certainly in your own home countries, connections with people who may be similar like you, connections that you might have built already at Baruch, and other places that you might have studied at. Those are connections that you have. Whether or not they're strong connections or not, that's a different conversation. But you have network, you have connection, you have support network around you, you have your classmates around you, you have your advisors around you, you have your professors around you, and your family members or maybe friends that you have both internationally and in the US. Those are your connection that you already have. It is not when you're going through a networking process, especially you are students, most of the time professionals know that your hidden agenda is really to kind of make connection and maybe even at some point in the future finding out whether or not that's a great job opportunity for them. And professional knows that. So it's not necessarily that you are imposing on it, but is also a place for them to assess, how genuine are you in terms of thinking about this profession? How excited are you in launching your careers in these directions? Professional knows that they can relate back to you and thinking about when they started their own career, they are in the same boat as you are. So oftentimes you're not necessarily imposing the expectations of you have to offer. You have to give whatever your 2 cents will be, but you might be keeping up with the industry more so than others. You may be learning so much about the current trends and technology because you may be more in tune that as a side of professional that might be in the industry for a while. So oftentimes these are your own imposed fears. Some of these fears can be real, and I'm not dismissing that, but thinking about, how do you want to start to roll out your professional reputation? try not to take it too personally if they're not getting back to you, or if they if you might feel intimidating with this conversation. Just take a deep breath and say, this is a good experience, and continue to move on with your networking adventure. It's difficult to be in unknown territory, and I'm sure all of you experience that when you're moving into the US or going internationally, going into a new foreign culture and country. You already experienced that. Looking back in some of the skill set and tools that you have used to navigate that uncertainty and start to apply some of those mindset into your networking process can be a useful tactic to help you conquer some of these fears. So let's talk about a systematic way that we encourage all job seekers to use in order for you to organize your networking process. Thinking about the concept of informational interview, it is a very organized way to help you set up your networking. It's a common term that most professionals knows. When you're requesting for informational interview, they know that what it means, and it's a helpful way for you to understand what it is that you are doing as well. So what is an information interview? It's an informal process. It's a brief meetings between a person that you want to investigate your careers and person that you want to work in that careers. It's a process for you to gather information. It's a process for you to learn more about the other person from these brief meetings. It can be a 20-minute, 30-minute, it could be longer. Sometimes can be in person and over the phone. Ideally, you want to make a connection in person at some point. Obviously, right now we are working virtually and remotely. So obviously, it's a good time for you to make any of those, information interview virtually. That might be through a phone call. That might be through a Zoom call. That might be through any other, virtual means as well. The goal for you is to learn more about the job that you might be interested in, to see whether or not they're a good fit for your interest, skill, personality. It can also be a great way for you to develop relationship with people that might lead to potential referral. It's a great way certainly to expand your network. So like I said, you may heard of some of these terms like, oh, let's have a coffee chat, or let's have an informal conversation offline. So these are common, things that professionals are doing in order for them to expand your network, explore business connections, or even future business partnerships. So information in an interview from a job seeker point of view, it's a very effective way. The more you do this, the more you can start to make yourself stand out among others. So let's talk about the process of how you can do that. So information interview is a way for you to gather information, for you to develop relationship. It's not really a great way for you to instantly, again, the keyword is instantly, ask for job opportunity and get your foot in the door once you apply. So when you are in that mindset of all I care about is looking for that opportunity. All I care about is just say, hey, give me an interview. That is putting yourself in the same boat as what you may be feeling at that point, right? You have a very clear hidden agenda, and all you want to think about is pushing forward for that agenda without being open-minded and start to hear about what the other person might think. So you don't want to be that person. I always say, example is thinking back from your connections or even people that you talk to. You don't want to be that annoying uncles or aunts only call you, or even that friends only call you when they need that favor, right? So think in the same mindset. You don't want to be that person's only need that information interview just because you want that favor from them. It's obvious that they know that you're a student, so at some point in that conversation, they know that your ultimate goal is to find that opportunity. The ultimate goal is at some point, if it's a mutual fit, they will do that favor for you. That is a given mindset that most professionals has, right? So the difference is that you don't want that to be the first things that you want to ask for. You don't want to be the first things that all they think about is you trying to use that person to get you into the interview stage, even though at some point down the road, they might help you to do that. So how do you really schedule information interview? So first thing I always say is look for connections. Whether or not maybe you meet somebody while you were on campus, or maybe you learn about a alumni or a connections or professional in the industry you want to learn more about, start to think about what the connection point is. Whether or not you went to webinars that you met with a professional, you really like what they offer, what they talked about, do a follow-up. Maybe a good starting point. Maybe look for an opportunity to request for an information interview. And it's okay to even say, hey, I would like to request for information interview. Most people know what that means when they hear the word informational interview. So the basic, you want to start with thinking about who you want to reach out to, maybe make a list of target companies that you want to explore and you want to learn more about. Start to look at things on LinkedIn, start to look at connection that you may have, start to look at, where are places that I can find these connections, maybe from your student club organization, maybe from your professional community connections, maybe from people that you know in the past that want to make those connections with you, and start to gather that list of contact. Reach out to them, ask for information interview. Draft a well-crafted email, provide them some demographic information about why you want to set up these phone call, right? Or why you want to set up these, virtual chat, or why you want to set up these in-person, information interview when we are going back to the normal. So you want to draft something that show that you are genuinely interested, a little bit about your background, a little bit about what your motive and intentions are. Are you here to learn more about the industry? Are you here to learn more about, the company that that person is working for? Are you learning more about, a specific reasons for you to reach out, right? Prepare for interview, whatever that might be. So you want to take the time to craft something short, simple, and to the point that you can send over. And here's an example that we have for you on the screen. Draft something that is well-crafted, organized, in first impression piece that you want people to follow up with you and say, yes, I'm interested, I'm happy to talk to you about it. That's the ultimate goal. Again, you don't want to say, hey, I'm looking for a job in your firm. Can you help me out? That's not the most obvious way and the best way to do, like I said earlier. But take the time to ask yourself, what is the best connection? What do they have that you are interested in? Right? Take the time to do a little bit more research about the person and start to think about what connection points might you have. So an example of that is, thinking back from your own, right? If someone from your home country or from your previous high school or from your own previous institution reach out to you, say, hey, I would like to learn more about Baruch. I saw that you're going to Baruch. Would you have time to, talk to me so I can learn about your experience at Baruch? Chances are you're going to say yes to them more so than somebody who just blankly say, hey, I want to know about Baruch. Can you talk to me, right? So you want to have that connection. You want to make a little bit of that extra step to see where the common mutual points may be. Maybe an interest, maybe a hobby, maybe you guys are part of the club that they were in before. Maybe you guys came from the same country, same high school, same city, whatever that might be. Make those common ground so that people are most likely and more enticed to respond to you as a result of that. So what topic can you really talk about? It could be anything and everything, but obviously related to what you're hoping for. So maybe from your research, think about what are some of the things that you want to investigate. This is a great time for you to ask professionals for insight, advice, and tips. So thinking about those questions that you are stuck at, I always say to students, so this is a good time to talk to people if you are unsure how you can distinguish this company to their competitors. Use this time to ask those questions. Wouldn't it be nice for you to hear from them and say, how do they distinguish themselves than another company? How do they talk about their product and services that may be different than their competitor who may present themselves very similar to what their companies offers, right? They have their own way to explain what makes them apart, what makes them unique. You can now gather these informations so that you can use that as opportunity. If you in the future want to apply for any of those jobs, you now have the insider tips on what makes them stand out, what makes them unique. Use those experience, use those tips and insight to start to craft your own document. Use that insight to start to prepare yourself to be more competitive for the job that you want to go for. Maybe asking them about, what are some of the changes in the industry, especially now, asking them questions, how does technology affect their work, right? What are some of the challenges that they are currently facing in this particular climate? Maybe asking them what professional organization are they part of? What are some of the skill sets and tools that, they believe are important for any newcomers in the industry to have? What are ways for you to make connections and get involved in some of these professional organizations, right? And also think about what other related opportunity. If you had that conversation with somebody in the industry and you realize, no, this is not what I want to go for, this is also a good time to ask, like, what other similar opportunity might that be available? And maybe depends upon how good your conversation is, you can even ask for tips and advice, maybe for your resume, maybe for interviewing tips, maybe for other additional topics that could be useful to help you get more insight from professional in the industry. The more you start to get it, the more you start to talk to people in the industry, the more you start to realize the themes evolve, what makes you to be successful if you want to pursue that career. So where can you find this networking opportunity? There are a variety of ways that our office offers. So we have all those career fairs and opportunity for you to make connections. Right now, we still have about 25 to 30 different company employee related information sessions and networking opportunity, or these webinars for you to meet professional and Baruch alumni. Those are a great way for you to get these contacts and start to make yourself, competitive and follow up with any of them. Maybe as a result of a webinars that you attend, you really find a speaker helpful. Have those follow-up conversations. Do reach out for an informational interview. Other clubs, a lot of student clubs on campus do offer a lot of professional events, maybe bringing their own professional alumni coming back, or people who are connected with the organizations. Use the opportunity to make connections with, one or two individuals who may be who you really admire, who you really inspire to be, or who you want them to learn more. Attend those panel conferences, any of those events where there are outside professional coming in. Off campus, there are a lot of variety of ways, all those meetup groups online, look at the alumni clubs, look at any of those settings. You'll be surprised to learn who you can find in connections as well. Obviously, right now, you are at home. The best way to start thinking about is looking on all those social media connections, which we're going to cover later on as well. How can you find opportunity and connections on LinkedIn? How do you attend those events where you can still meet professional and follow up with those speakers from those sessions? Those are more effective and most important ways you can get started with that. And I can tell you right now, when we host any of these webinars, chances are students tend not to respond and follow up with the presenters when they say, hey, feel free to ask me any questions. Chances are, I would say 80% of the student who attended the session does not or did not follow up with that process. So you as an international student, this is a great chance for you to make yourself stand out. Once you attend those webinars with professionals that you want to talk to, follow up with them with an email, request for an information interview as well. So networking, social media. Again, there's a variety of ways for you to make connections with it, whether or not it's on LinkedIn, whether or not it's on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any other website, blogs, and so forth. Follow those, thought leaders. Interact with them. You'll be surprised maybe at some point when you have those interactions. Ask for an information interview. Ask for a a quick coffee chat, ask for an opportunity to Zoom in with them, ask for that, one point interaction. You'll be surprised to learn that how many times they will say yes to you. Before you do any networking, you want to make sure that your professional presence is cleaned up. So you want to make sure that when they're Googling you back, what does it pop up? What are some of the things that is listed online? So before people reaching out and respond back to you, chances are they're gonna Google you and say, let me just get a sense of who this person is. Let me just get a sense of what this person put out, what is online, so they can get a sense of your background at the same time. So your job is to make sure that whatever is on social media networking sites are professional and clean up and are selling the positive sell of who you are. Something you want to think about. With that said, you want to prepare recorded elevator pitch. So this will be an example of preparing yourself, answering the questions of, tell me about yourself. Chances are they're going to ask you that question. Talk to me a little bit about who you are. What is your background? You want to start to make yourself a unique story about, I would say 30-second max. You don't want to go on for 60 seconds long because it can be too long. You want to talk about highlights, what elevator pitch is basically the 30-second commercial. What are some of the things about you that start to pique people's interest? Something about you that makes you unique, a little bit about your background. So an informational interview, talk to me a little bit about your background, maybe a reference to, your own course of study right now. What are you looking for? What are something that you have learned about yourself? What are some of the future goals that you're interested in? Try not to say that, hi, I'm a student, I'm looking for a job. It's obvious, but maybe talking a little bit about something that interests me, something that might be helpful for the networker to know about you. Maybe a club that you're part of, if they are mutual connection. Maybe it's an internship that you have done. Maybe it's a project that you have done in the past. Whichever that might be, you want to start to make yourself, connecting with the other individual across through that introductions. Again, the impression that you're making there can start to open up conversation starters with the people across from you. And again, this particular message should be tailored based on the event that you want to go for. Maybe in a career fair setting, your elevator pitch may be different than maybe using this when you're going for interview setting. When you're sitting down being interviewed, your elevator pitch will be a little bit about, why you are qualified for the jobs. So the formality of your elevator pitch should be referenced based on the settings you want to be in, and you should be tailoring that based on what environments, what setting that you want to go for. So keep on to remember, come up with any networking situation with a, with a positive attitude. You don't want to go into any event and say, I don't really want to be there. I don't really need to know about it. Show that you're really excited about the opportunity to connect with them. Show who you are. That's why I say you don't want to memorize the same script just over and over, especially for your introductions. Take some time to think about one or two things that might be interesting to open up that conversation for the elevator pitch. Think about quality of relationship, the number of people. You want to spend the time being present there and hear them out about what they have to offer, what they are sharing with you regarding tips and advice. Do a follow-up with that. If they give you a tips for your resume, do a version, whether or not you agree or disagree, do a version to show that you take this time to actually update based on their feedback. It means a lot more than just say, thank you very much, and never respond back to them with any follow-up, right? Give any insight. Networking is a two-way street. When they see something that is interesting, share. That maybe you come across an article about something that they were just mentioning about, or maybe they will talk about, hey, so you start thinking about what technology may be helpful for this implementation process, and about a good technology that the company may be able to explore. Share that resource, share that link. follow through with any follow-up. If they say to you, you know what, send me a resume, I'm happy to take a look at it. Follow up with them. You don't want to just disappear and I always say, you don't want to ghost them, right? You don't want to, just hear from them once and never hear them again. Always send a thank you note. Send a thank you message for any time you meet with that individual. So with that said, let's just go into detail on that. You want to be honest and being genuine. You want to take the ownership of who you are. You want to recognize your impact and be consistent. You will get through that at some point. You want to be proactive in managing any of the stress and anxiety. You don't want to bring that into any of those networking stage. It's okay to be nervous. It's okay to not to be 100% perfect. You don't want to wait until you're 100% perfect before you start this process. You can learn along the way. It's okay if you feel nervous or if this information interview didn't go well, and that's okay. People understand that. It's okay to be the most important part is being yourself and learn one thing out of any of those, conversation and experience. Networking or job search, this should apply for both, not just in the networking setting, but really in the job search process. Take care of yourself and being around people who are eager and excited to be supportive for you, right? Those are things that you want to start talking about. Again, take some time. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to submit onto the chat as well. As a reminder, we're going to dive into a little bit about LinkedIn, because I believe that LinkedIn is the most effective way for you to find connection, especially now. Everybody's at home most of the time. Everybody's at home. This is a great way for you to find connection and do these information interview. And do these networking, do these connections to start to make yourself stand out. So what is LinkedIn? For those who don't know, it's a great way for you to establish a professional brand and online presence. It helps people to find you. It definitely gives you an opportunity to stay in touch with classmates, friends, any former employers, prospective employer, and colleagues that you may work with in the past. It also is a great way for you to stay in touch with people in your network, right? It also helps others for when they need help keeping track of what's going on in their own professional life. And also it's a great way for you to find all those influencer and expertise and all those experts and ideas out in the community. It's definitely a great way for you to explore opportunity and business connections as well. So a quick highlight of things we're going to encourage all of you to have a little bit about your background. Again, making sure you have things ready to go before you get started with the networking, right? You want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is clean up. You want to make sure you have a clean professional headshot. You want to make sure you have a rich keywords headline. So an example on here, this Natalia has great headshot, but the headlines can probably improve. How many students are at City University of New York right now, right? There's hundreds, thousands and thousands of you guys. So what makes you stand out, right? Start to make some really interesting headlines there. Making a strong summary, setting up your profile setting, make it into public profile. Whatever's on your LinkedIn is public and should be public, because you want to make connection. You want people to learn about your background. You want them to hear and see more about interesting things about you, right? You want to keep your public profile definitely public. You want to customize the public URL. There's a way you can edit that. So say linkedin.com/in/ let's say Gerald Tang 12ABC. You don't want that extra numbers and letters behind your name. Trying to edit the URL and trying to customize maybe your first name dot last name, first name, middle, or last name, or what have you. Trying to customize that, and you can add that onto your resume. Other important sections, you want to make sure you have your education. Definitely put Baruch College on it. If you are also in a different degree program, add a dual degree on it. Making the experience section to be known. Experience can be both project, or experience can be in an actual internship or current job that you are in, you'll be surprised to learn how many of those, side gig or different job that you might have can make a good connections with people in the professions. This is the time that you can add things beyond what is on your resume. It can be more than one page. It can definitely be opportune to make connection and mutual ground based on things that you might not have room to add on your resume. This is a time you can also add some of these elements on your LinkedIn. Maybe recommendation endorsement, definitely add the location and industry of your choice. It definitely clearly tell me what industry might you want to be in and what may be the environments that you want to you want to plan to go for. And also a great place for you to add media links as well. We're going to dive into LinkedIn a little bit more for that as well. But the good starting point I always say before we jump into the next session is take some time to update your resume first. Once you have a well-crafted resume, you can now easily transition some of the content from your resume to your LinkedIn, right? If you have a really good bullet point on your resume, it's a good idea to put some of those onto your experience section. You don't have to add every single thing that you have on your resume to your LinkedIn, but it's also a good starting point, especially for some of us for some of you who may be just starting out your careers. It's a good time for you to do that through your LinkedIn account as well. Headlines, like I said to you, you want to definitely show a little bit of a personality. Definitely add some keywords in it. What are something that make you stand out? What may be something that when people read through your headline, they know, okay, this is the persons I want to make connection to because it gives me some interesting insights about the persons. What makes you different? What makes you special? This is also should be incorporated as part of your elevator pitch, right? What makes you unique? What are some of the elements that you are interested in? Add some of those keywords into it, whether or not it's a phrase or a few terms, terminology that you that people can describe you, and you can add those into just different terms or titles, or it could be something like Kara, which is our colleague in the office. A very clear, specific message about what she does. By reading through the headlines, by reading through the quick message there can be useful as well. Try not to do something like students at Baruch. Try not to do something like, your title only, unless the title really makes a difference. If let's say if you're someone interns at Goldman Sachs, okay, that can be helpful. But think about how many summer students are there, right? So you want to make sure that you are highlighting specific things that interest you, that makes you stand out. Maybe something that you're passionate about, maybe something that you that you're specialized in or you're interested in. Maybe you can say, someone intern at Goldman Sachs with professional experiences utilizing Excel, or with strong knowledge of whatever markets will be. So you can add those elements onto your headline. Take some time to work with any one of us to craft your LinkedIn, to craft your headlines. Those are also helpful things to do. Again, you don't have to wait until your LinkedIn profile to be polished to reach out, but it's certainly helpful to have a good LinkedIn profile as you're reaching out to professional. But that shouldn't be one step prior to the other. Definitely reach out to professional when you can while you're working on your headlines, while you're working on your LinkedIn as well. Summary, these are just a few wordings that you can describe right underneath your box, your heading box. So those are where you can expand. This will be a good, really craft for your 30-second introduction. So if you have a really good elevator pitch, this may be a place to add it. This may be a place to start that conversation. What makes you stand out? A little bit about you, maybe a little about what you're interested in. That should be, think about who you are, what you want to do, why are you interested in this space, what are you hoping to connect. It can be paragraph, it can be bullet point, it can be subheading to break up the text. You can add photos, you can add videos, you can even add documents to show. So it's not just tell them who you are, but show them who you are as well. It can be more friendly. You can use the I statements. You can add something a little bit of like a short paragraph to introduce yourself. So this is also a place, like I said to you, that you can add elements of a little bit about your introductions to your LinkedIn as well. Certainly add experience on it. Anything, if you are part of a club, organization on off campus, definitely add those on it. If you're education, certainly add that into your session as well. You can certainly add other information such as project, languages, it could be publications, honors, test scores, anything else that might make you stand out. If you write a really interesting articles on Ticker, add that as part of publication. If you've done a project at your in your class, add that information on it, because you never know what may be interesting for other people to learn about you. If your certification, if you're currently doing a Google AdWords course, or if you're doing an open MOOC, open coursework at Harvard Business School, do that, right? Add those elements onto your LinkedIn to make yourself a little more interesting to read. Keyword, definitely add keywords in the industry. Think about what you want to see from people who are in the industry. If you're searching for other people's LinkedIn profile, take a look to see what do they put on there. What are some of the things they add to the industry, so that as people searching for you, they know that you are also related to the industry of your choice that you want to go for. You know, add some of the content and experiences, definitely add some of these, you know, skill set and competency, and also message that you want them to learn about you, that make yourself stand out, that relate to the profession you want to go for. Certainly add media link. That also nice to break up some sample of your work. You know, if you have done really interesting, especially this is applicable for people interested in more visual related type of industries such as media, graphic communications. Add 1 or 2 sample of your work, make yourself stand out even more than others. Things you want to add, definitely some of the general contact information. I encourage not to post your resume on your LinkedIn. It's not the most effective means and method. Maybe add your contact information, just like an email address that people can follow up with you or connect with you. That's perfectly fine. I wouldn't put a whole address, email, and phone number on it. I will only put an email address if necessary, so that people can reach out to you through email. Finding job, I'm going to jump right into the section on it. Just quickly show you there's a job section that you can search for on LinkedIn. I'll show you in a second what it looks like. Definitely you can search for full-time and part-time opportunity on LinkedIn. I would actually encourage all of you to use it as one of the few things you want to utilize. Besides on Star Search, you can search for things on LinkedIn as well. I will show you in a second what the alumni profile will be. This is also a great way for you to find out who they are. And this is also the most important valuable asset that you can reach out to alumni based on what is listed on here. Reaching out to people, you want to reach out to people in different ways. You want to have those introductions. You want to make yourself stand out by asking for that information interview. Don't just make connections with them without asking them, is it okay to make connection? But you can reach out to them through introduction and referral, or if you're part of a group that on LinkedIn that they have mutual connection, you can also do that. Take the time to find the mutual connection that you want to make connection to, and asking for that referral could be useful. So definitely use that referral tool instead of the email, because you want that to be a stronger connection for a full referral than necessarily just somebody on the street trying to reach out to you. Take the time to write something meaningful. That will be a place for you to actually add the personal note. Saw you on LinkedIn, really interesting background. Notice that you're Baruch alumni, would love to make connections with you. I noticed that you're part of the, the Ascent Club on campus. I'm part of the Ascent. Love to check in with you to see how you're doing, and also learning a little bit about your career experiences, how you get to where you are after graduation. That would be a quick example of things that you can craft to the professional using that as well. And then you can send the messages on group as well, which I'm going to talk about. Try not to use the template message. It's not very helpful. Just saying that I would like to add you to my network, or I just send out that without even a message. Sometimes chances are they're not going to respond to you because they don't know who you are, right? Take some time to think about, hey, I met you at this webinar. I'd love to make connections with you. Would love to take the time to learn about your background. Maybe we can you know, have a coffee chat at some point in the future, or maybe we can set up a time to learn about your background. So those are things you can certainly add as well. So I'm gonna jump out of this and I'm gonna jump right into LinkedIn and show you where you can find those jobs and so forth as well. So you see the starter screen. I'm gonna log on to my LinkedIn. First thing, raise your hand if you can see my screen. So just click on the raise hand button so I can make sure you guys can see my screen here. Okay, good. So I'm going to show you a little bit about my background. You can add, you can customize your image, make something that's easy to recognize who you are. Definitely have a background and backdrop, a little bit about your headline, like I said to you. Certainly add some of the media link. This is an example of things I added on my own profile. Doesn't mean that you have to do the same activity, and also highlight your experiences at ECNC. I even add some example on some of the job that I had in the past, and all of those listed here as well. I will send out a follow-up email, resources for you, a one-pager for our LinkedIn profile, so you can use it as a way to update that as well. Just making sure that all of you are signed up and have checked in through our kiosk. I will send it directly through that as well. So make sure you do check in through the kiosk so I can send it directly through Star Search. How do I find jobs? First thing you want to see here is job sections. And one feature I personally like is they have a new, I'm gonna jump right back out for a second, the network here. What I like about it right now is not just people who invited me and make connection, but also people who might be interesting for me to connect with. Those are also a great way for you to see where the hidden opportunities are, who I might have known that, or who may be in the similar industry that I can start to follow in connection, maybe follow some of the people that who are the, you know, influencer on LinkedIn, or people that I would like to follow along. You don't have to make connection with them to follow them along, which is a great thing about that. If you click on the job sections, this is where you can find opportunity on it. Let's say I'm going to type in internship, and we're searching for internship opportunity in New York area, New York City Metropolitan. Instantly, it gives me example of internship that are still currently posted on Star Search. What I like about it, you don't have to apply directly, and if you do, that's okay too. LinkedIn is one of the trusted source, so you definitely can apply for opportunity on LinkedIn. The other option that I would encourage you to do is, once you find a job on here, go to the company website and actually search for the name of this particular internship. Let's say if you want to go for and apply directly through the company website. And you can see here, all of these are listed in here, example opportunity. You can sort by date, you can sort by company, you can sort by experience level. So for example, I will narrow down to entry level for internship. So you can search for that through the experience level. You can narrow it down to specifically what type of companies that you want to go for, and so forth as well. You can even sort them by what is relevant or not relevant for these opportunity to be listed. So again, these are example things you can search for internship and opportunities through the system on LinkedIn, which is helpful. Sometimes some of these postings might actually have people. So for example, here you will see this particular one in the American Museum of Natural History. It does list that 2 alumni works here. It means I went to another school for my master's degree program. This tells me who are the 2 alumni that I can potentially make connection to who are currently working at the museum. So that will be an example if I want to apply for that opportunity. Maybe I'll reach out to 2 alumni who works there first, do those information interview, and trying to understand what makes, you know, a good candidate for a company like this, and be able to then apply for opportunity like that through here. So this is a great feature. You can start to see what are some of the connections might be available that you can search for here through the system. And you can see here a variety of things you can search for. One thing I do want to use the next couple minutes to do is show you where to find alumni. So the easiest thing to do is search for Baruch College. And then you can search for the school. Now that you can see the school site, which is what the college site will be. If you click on the alumni tab right here, by the way, you can click on jobs to see anyone posted. There's no active on the company, but you can click on alumni tab. This is where you can access 12,000, 120,000 alumni on the site. So where you can find it, all of these are customizable. So let's say I'm looking for different location, even internationally even, you can start to see some of those alumni connections on here. If you look in New York area, you can click on New York. You can then that automatically customize to what industry you want to be in and what locations that you want to be in. Then you can start to narrow it down to options and so forth. Let's say I'm looking for things in UBS, 222 people, then you can start to see who are the people I can make connection to. And what I like about it, you can see right here, share connections. This is what I would encourage you to do first and see what the share connections are and see how strong the share connections will be before you click on the connect button. Because when you click on the connect button, it automatically tells you an option for you to connect. But this is where you want to customize and adding your specific message to your invitation so that people see a little bit about why you're interested in connecting with them before you submit that message to them. So take the time to write something briefly, you want to make the connection with it, or reaching out to this share connection and see whether or not you can be able to make connection with them through this additional steps. Even clicking on the person's profile, read up what is available here. What is this person's background? How can you make connections with it? This person, for example, was at Baruch, finished in 2014. That's a stronger connection that you can start to make connection to than just say, hey, I would like to connect with you, right? And maybe learning about the person's background, what makes this person stand out, and even looking at here, the volunteer experience. Are there any things here that have common ground? Are there any specific info here that maybe you're passionate about when you were in New York as well? So find these connection points before you craft that message so that people, chances are they're gonna say yes to you than, a stranger on the street. So again, like I said, you can find jobs on the system. You can find your network through LinkedIn. You can narrow it down to your search process. You can follow people. You can keep track of what is hiring. We can also track out, like for example, here's who is hiring right now. Take a look at that. Using that as a research tool can be a helpful thing for you to start as well. As you continue on this journey, searching for opportunity in the US and internationally, do take the time to make connections and start to build your network. Maybe do something every day to start to reach out to one professional at a time. At this point, it's a good, valuable step you can